Hi everyone, today we're going to continue with our algebra topic and we're going to look at two things today. First is multiplying terms and then we're going to move on to expanding brackets, expanding single brackets, also known as multiplying out brackets. So let's first look at multiplying terms. So if you were asked to multiply 5 by a, so 5 times a, the way we write this in algebra is just simply by sticking them both together, 5a, with nothing in between. So if you ever see the term like that, that means 5 times a. If you were to do c times 7, the way we would write this is 7c. We tend to write the number first. Okay, so in algebra, if you're timesing a number by a letter, the way you would write it like this and always have the number coming first. If you were to times two letters together, so C times D, same as the two previous examples, you're just going to write them side by side with nothing in between. With letters, it's a good habit to get into writing them in alphabetical order. So yes, you're going to write them side by side, but if you could write them in alphabetical order, that's a good habit to get into. And lastly, we can multiply more than two terms. So if we had 6 times f times e, that becomes 6ef. So we've got our number first, and then we've got letters after it, and it's also in alphabetical order. Okay, some more examples. If you were to times two letters together that are the same, so in this case we've got a times a, this becomes a squared. Okay. And next example, g times 5 times g becomes 5g squared. So we've got our number coming first, and then we've got g times g to give us g squared. If we have c times 3c, that is 3c squared. Again, we've got our number first, and then we've got c times c. And last example, 4p times 2p. So if we times both our numbers together, 4 times 2 gives us 8, and timesing both our letters together, p times p gives us p squared. So the answer will be 8p squared. Okay, now it's your turn to have a go at some questions. So if you pause here and then unpause in a few minutes once you're done, and we'll go over the answers. Okay, so the answers to these questions, 7 times a gives you 7a, c times 9 gives you 9c, the letter coming first, 2 times d times 5, if we times the 2 and the 5 together we get 10, then times that by d to get 10d, a times 4 times d gives us 4ad, got our number first and then our letters in alphabetical order, s times s, s squared, c times 3 times c gives you 3c squared, and lastly 3w times 2w. If you times your letters together you get 6, and w times w gives you 6w squared. Okay, some more examples on multiplying terms. Again, we're going to multiply 3 terms together here. 4a times 2a times 3a. If we just look at our numbers first, we've got 4 times 2, which is 8, and then 8 times 3 gives us 24. And then our letters, we've got a times a times a, giving us a cubed. Okay, so it's 24a cubed. So if you're timesing 3 of the same letters together, it gives you a cubed, sorry. Our next question, 5g, and you notice the brackets here. This means this is 5g, and that is all being squared. So what this technically means is 5g times 5g. That's another way to look at it. Okay, so 5g all squared, multiplying the numbers together to give you 25, and then your letters together to give you g squared, so it'll be 25g squared. We have next one, 2c times 3d. Numbers 2 times 3 gives you 6. And then look at your letters, c times d gives you just cd. So the way we write that, 6cd. Okay, our last example on multiplying terms. 4pq multiplied by 2p. Okay, I want you to first look at your numbers, 4 times 2 gives you 8. And then we've got p times q times p. We've got two p's there, and we know that p times p is p squared. Okay, so the numbers were 8, p squared, and then we've got our q on the end. So 8p squared q is our answer. Okay, can you please make sure you've got all those notes and examples copied down into your jotter? If you need to go back through the video to make sure you've got that copied down, it's good to have all these different kinds of examples to refer back to. Okay, only 3 questions for you to try. Pause the video here and then I will go over the answers in a little bit. Okay, so first one, 2a times 7a. So 2 times 7 is 14, and then you've got a squared on the end. 9c all squared. So remember that means 9c multiplied by 9c. So all of that has been squared. Squared means timesing it by itself. You should have 81c squared. And our last example, 2cd times 5cd. Our numbers, 2 times 5 gives you 10. We've got c times c to give us c squared. And then we've got d times d to give us d squared. Okay, so that is multiplying terms. We're then now going to use that knowledge to help us to expand single brackets or multiply out brackets. Okay, so you have this expression here, 6, and in brackets, x plus 2. And our goal is to get rid of those brackets, to multiply them out. Okay, and to do that, you have a rule. So everything inside the bracket, so this x plus 2 is all inside the bracket, must be multiplied with the term or number on the outside of the bracket. Okay, so the first step, what I like to do is draw a little line underneath. So if you were to write this out, okay, then draw a little line underneath to keep yourself right. So we're going to do 6 times x first to give us 6x. And then we're going to do 6 times 2 to give us 12. And we've got plus 12 here. So this was 6 times plus 2 gives you 12, plus 12. So our final answer, that is how it should be written, 6x plus 12. We've got rid of our brackets, we've expanded them, and this is our final answer here. Okay, some more examples. You could have a subtraction in the middle of your brackets, but it's the same process that we're going to take. So 4 times x gives you 4x, and 4 times negative 6, because whatever is in front of that number is stuck with it, so 4 times negative 6 gives you negative 24. So our full expression as our answer is 4x subtract 24. Okay, you could have a number bigger than 1 in front of your letter in your bracket. So here we've got 2x plus 5 within our brackets, but we're still going to take the same steps. So 7 times 2x gives you 14x, and then 7 times plus 5 gives you plus 35. And our third example, it doesn't matter if your letter and your number are rounded the other way in your bracket. Again, we're still going to apply the same rule to each one of these expanded bracket questions. So first one, 5 times 9 gives you 45, and 5 times plus x gives you plus 5x. Same process, we've just got our letters and our numbers round the other way. Okay, 3 more examples on this. Okay, same rule, everything inside the bracket must be multiplied by the number or term on the outside. Okay, so in this example, we've actually got negative 2 on the outside of our bracket. Okay, so this time we're going to take negative 2 times x to give us negative 2x, and then we've got negative 2 times positive 3, which gives you negative 6. Again, we have a negative on the outside of the bracket. We've also got a negative on the inside of the bracket, so we need to use our knowledge of integers to really help us here. So first one, negative 3 times x gives you negative 3x. And then we have negative 3 times negative 5. Remember that sign is joined to this 5 to give you plus 15. And our last one, we could have not just numbers outside the bracket, we could have a term that involves letters as well. But again, we're still going to stick to the same rule. We know how to multiply terms now, so we're going to apply that to this question. So 5x times x. So we've got two letters that are the same, timesing them together, give us 5x squared. And then we have 5x times plus 4, give you plus 20x. Don't forget this x on the end here, because there's an x on the term outside the bracket. That all must be included when we're multiplying. Make sure you've got all these notes copied down, please, in your jotter, so you've got them to refer back to. And when you're copying out the examples, please ensure that you draw these lines underneath, because that really helps you understand what two numbers or terms are being multiplied together. Okay, so 6 questions for you to try. Please copy out each question, draw your your lines or your curves underneath to help you, and pause the video here, and then we'll go over the answers in a little bit. Okay, first answer. We have, let's see. Okay, we have 6 times x to give us 6x, and then plus 6 times 3. So we'll have 6x plus 18. Second question, we've got 3 times y to give us 3y, then 3 times negative 5 to give us 3y, subtract 15. Okay, third question, we have 4 times 2t to give us 8t, and then 4 times plus 7 to give us plus 28. So you should have 8t plus 28 for that one. Okay, question D, we've got a negative in front of our bracket here. So we've got negative 9 times 2h to give us negative 18h, and then negative 9 times plus 9, which will give us negative 81. So you should have negative 18h, subtract 81. Okay, question E, we've got 2 times 4 to give us 8, and then 2 times plus 3n to give us plus 6n. So you should have 8 plus 6n. And our last question is negative 8 times 5x to give us negative 40x, and then we've got negative 8 multiplied by negative 7, which is those two negatives, because we're multiplying them together, will give us a positive 56. So we've got negative 40x plus 56. Okay, please mark all your work, and that's all the examples finished.